Hi. So in this tutorial I am going to cover the one particular topic, that is discovering the match between the data science and Python. So if you are studying in the university with the computer science or information technology subjects in the bachelor of engineering or bachelor of technologies, then you may have one subject, that is a Python for data science. So that particular subject included this particular topics as a syllabus, in that particular syllabus you have chapter, that is, I think it's a first chapter, that is discovering the match between the data science and Python. So in this video tutorial I am try to cover that particular topics along with the all the details, and I also include some content from the reference book as well, so you also get the help from the that as well. So let's start with the that so now you may have a question that what is the data science and what is the Pythons for that. So all the things is covered in this particular tutorial. So data science may seems like one of the those technologies that you had never used, but you had be wrong. Yes, data science involved the use of advanced math technologies, statistics, and the big data. However, the data science also involved the helping you to make smart decision, creating suggestions for options based on the previous choice, and making the uh, robots and see the objects. In fact, the people use the data science in so many different ways that you library can not look anywhere or do anything without feeling the effect of the data science in your life. So let's start with that. So first thing is the data science and the data science languages. So there are many different languages available in the world for to perform the practical related to data science and implement the logic for the data science. Some of the these languages including the Pythons, that is for general purpose. You can also use the R languages, that is special purpose for statistics. You can also use the SAS, that is called the business statistical analytics, and you can also use the SQL, that is for the database management. Okay, so inside the Python you can perform some general it is a one type of you can use the Python as a data science language, and for the general purposes. Many data science projects prefer to use the Python because it's provide a wealth of libraries such as NumPy, SciencePy, Matplot libraries, then Pandas, then sklearns, to make the data science task significantly easier for the developers. And when we are talking with the R languages, in the particular in the many of aspect, Python and R share the same sort of the functionality, but implement in the different way. Depending on which source you use, Python and R have about the same numbers of proponent. And some people use the Python and R interchangeability, means in the project some of the component design in the Python and some of the component design in the R languages. When we are talking about the ASS, it means statistical analytics system. This it language is too popular because it's make data analytics, business intelligence, data management, and the predictive analytics very easier according to other programming languages. And when we are talking about the SQL, that is stand for the structured query language. The most important things to remember about the structured query languages is that it's focus on the data rather than the task. businesses can't operate without the good data management. The data management is the key factor in the business. Large organization use the some sort of the relational database which is normally accessible with the SQL to store their data. So these are the key languages that we can use for the data science. Now the easy we can say sexiest jobs for the 21st centuries. So why we can say the it's Python is the most important, and it's most you can say favorite language for the developers, and why there is jobs is available in the Pythons and the data science. So data science is the personal key behind the partitioning in the experience of the wonderment of technologies. Without the data science, much of what you expect as a typically and expected today wouldn't even the possible. This is the reason that being a data scientist is the sexiest job of the 21st century. So you can say in the 21st century we almost use we are generating the more data, we are producing more data in the form of social media content, video content, audio content, text contents, and all those. And to manage this particular all data, you need to implement the data science over there, right? So this we can say it's the best platform to enhance our knowledge in this particular things to get the better job in the 21st century. Okay, so now next is the core competency of data scientists. So like most complex trade today, the data scientists require the knowledge of a broader range of skills in order to perform the required tasks. It would be hard to find the single person with all the required skills. With this in mind, the following list of describe the area in which data scientists could excel. So this include the data capture, analytics, presentations. So inside the data captures, we generally talk to the capturing, or we can say the managing the data. You in the data capturing things, we must have the data modeling skills so that you can understand how the data is connected and whether the data is structured or not. The act of capturing the data begin by the managing a data source is using the data management skills. The next thing is the analytics. So after you have data to work with and understand the complexity of that particular data, you can begin to perform an analytics on that. So you can say this is the second skill for the data scientist to analyze the data. First thing is capturing the data, second thing is analyze the data, and third things that data scientists must have, that is presentations. So most people don't understand the numbers well, so they can't see the patterns that the data scientists see. Data scientists, yeah, okay. It's important to provide a graphics presentation of this particular pattern to help others visualize what the numbers mean and how to apply them in the meaningful way. In short, we can say as a data scientist, we need to provide some presentations for our data graph in the form of graphical representation as well. So this is the core component, or we can say core skill for the data scientist, that is data capturing, that is gathering of the data, analytics, that we understand the complex data and complexity of that particular data, and the third skill, that is presentational. That means we as a data scientist, we can present that particular data in the graphical representation. Okay, in the next section we are talking about the linking the data scientist and data science and big data. So we are linking the data science and the big data in this particular next topic. So in this particular things we are covering this particular things, that is the extract, transformations and the loading. Extract means we are extracting data from the numbers of sourcing. That means to collect the data from the different sources like text format, video content in the form of forms, online form submissions, some of the from the social medias. We are extract the data from the different numbers of sources of the data. Then we are performing the transform that data into the common format for the analytics purpose, so that we create one standard format, and we are transform that particular that the data that we capture in the first step, we are transport that data in the common format, so that we can easily analyze that particular data. And then we are loading that particular data in the different tools like informatics, Maticas, then MS SSIS or the Teradata to display, and we can analyze that particular things, how it's behave and all those. Okay, so the acting of moving data around so that someone in the this is things is very important, and for the data scientist, data science as well as the big data, the linking of moving data around so that someone can perform the analytics on it, and it is a specialty is called the extract, transformation and the loading that we already mentioned over here. The extract, transformation and the loading specialty use the programming languages such as the Python to extract the data from the number of sources. Okay, that I already mentioned over that. Okay, and the next thing is corporations tend not to be keep data in the easily accessible location. So the finding data is required to perform the analytics take time. After the extract, transformation and the loading, specialists find the data, a programming language or other tools transform this particular data into a common format, and then the data scientists analyze that particular data. Okay, so the loading process may takes many forms, but this particular videos in this particular tutorial, I rely on the Python to perform the task. So if there is a large system in the real world operation, you might find yourself using the different tools like informatics, MS SSIS and Teradata to perform the task, that is for the loading data and the analyze that particular things. So we are linking the data science along with the big data. So we are analyze the big data in this since you are accessing the data from the different data sources, and you can perform some operation or perform some analytics on that particular things. So data science and big data is somehow linking to each other. So now let's understand the role of programming languages, you can say, or a role of the programming in the data science. Okay, so data science may need to know several programming languages in order to achieve the specific goal. For example, you may need SQL knowledge to extract the data from the relational database. Okay, you may have a Python that can help to perform data loading, transformations and analytics tasks. However, you might choose a product such as MATLAB. Okay, this is and you can also use the PowerPoint to present the information to the others. In short, this particular things programming help you to gathering the data, or we can say transforming the data in the common format, and also programming help to present that particular data. So there are different programming language and tools are available in the to perform this particular task. Okay, so the language you choose to depend on the numbers of criteria. Okay, so here are the things you should consider when we are choosing the language particular platform. Okay, so you need to consider how you can intend to use the data science in your role or in your code. Okay, you have a numbers of tasks to consider such as data analytics, classification or regressions. and you the second thing is your familiarity with the languages. Okay, and the third thing is you need to interact with the other programming language as well. The ability you also need to consider the ability of tools to enhance the development environment as well. Okay, and the next thing is the ability of APIs and library to make perform the task easier. So in the science field, we understand the role of programming. Means in short, we can conclude that the programming is important to means which language you are use for that particular data science is very much important for you. You can perform some data gathering tasks using the programming. You also can perform the analytics using the programming, and you can also display the data in the form of the presentations using the programming as well. So it's depend on you how you want to interact with the data, how you want to transfer that particular data, and how you want to display that particular data. According to that you can choose the programming language as well. So here in this way we understand the rules. Means it's depend on the requirement. Means the rules for the programming is depend on the requirements and the framework where we are implementing the data science. Okay, so the next stage or we can say next thing is creating a data science pipeline. Okay, so data science scientist to follow the particular step in the preparations, analytics and presentation of data, they must need to follow this particular pipeline. A pipeline in the sense we can say steps. Okay, so first thing is the preparing the data. So it's prepare the data scientist prepare that particular data. The next thing is performing the exploratory data analytics. Okay, and the next third thing is the learning from the data, and after data scientists perform some visualizing on particular that data, and the last thing is obtaining the insights and the data products. So this is a similar like we can say when the data scientists gathering some data, perform some analytics, and learning from that particular data, and then present that data to the end user or end products, data products. Okay, so now let's understand the Python role in this particular data science. Why we are using the Python in this particular data science, and what is the role for the Pythons in the data science. So give the right data source, analytics requirement and the presentation need, you can use the Python for every part of your data science pipeline. So we already checked the data science pipeline, that is preparing the data, data analytics, then learning from the data and the visualization, and the obtaining the insight for the end data products. So we can say the Python provide the every part. You can use the Python for every part of your data science pipeline. Python's libraries are its main selling point. However, the Python offers more than the reusable code. The most important things to consider with the Python is that it support 4 different coding styles. That is functional. You can also use the object oriented, procedure and imperative. So functional means what? To treat every statement as a mathematical equations and avoid any form of the state and the mutable data. The main advantage of this approach is having no side effect of consider. In addition to this, coding style length itself better than the other parallel processing because there is no state of consider. Many developers prefer these coding styles for the recursive and for the lambda calculus. So in the for example if you are using some object oriented language, right, and some procedure language, object oriented in the sense you are using some C# Java, right, and procedures means you are using some old language there like VB6 and all those. You also using some functional programming languages, something like C++. Okay, so particular Python provides all these particular coding styles. So you can use that particular functional way, you can also use the imperative ways, you can also use the object oriented ways, or you can also use the procedure way in the Python. So Python is the most important, whether you are using some starting machine learning codings or some simple website, or you want to implement some data science logic over there. Python provide everything for you. Okay, so the functional, you already understand that we are creating some functionals and in the programs, and call that particular functions from the different function, or we can say main methods. So that is a functional way to code a particular things. The next thing is imperatives way. Okay, so to perform the computational and the direct change to the program state, this style is especially useful when the manipulating the data structure and the produce the elegant but simple code. Okay, so use a particular it's useful when we are manipulating some data structures over there. Okay, and the object oriented way, or we can say object oriented coding style, it's rely on the data fields that are treated as the object and the manipulating only through the precise methods. Python doesn't fully support this particular coding form because it can't implement the features such as the data hiding, because we already know so Python is not provide this particular functionalities. However, this is the useful coding style for complex application because it supports the encapsulation and polymorphism. This coding style also favor the code reuse, and we can also use the inheritance and all this functionality in the Python as well. So this style also useful when we are implementing some data science logic in the Python. The last way is we can say procedural way. Okay, so it's a treat a task as a step by step iterations where the common tasks are placed in the function, and that are called as when it's needed. This coding style favor the iterations, sequencing, and the selections and the modularization. So because of this particular or coding styles, Python we can say you can use the Python in the data science. Okay, and we can also check the Python provides so many libraries for the data science, inbuilt libraries, and Python is also open source, so we can use the Pythons in the data science as well, and we can perform the anything using the Python for the data science. Okay, so this is the complete tutorials to discover the match between the data science and the Python, means how we can compare how we can think that the Python is the best for to implement the data science level logics, and in the data science there is the simple things, we have to collect the data, we have to analyze data, and we have to perform some learning from that particular data, and provide some visualization, or we can say presentation for that particular data, like graphic presentations, or we can say graphs and all those. Okay, so Python is provide this all this functionality for the data science, and we can use the Python for that our data science project as well. So in these tutorials we only cover this particular things. You may have one other topics along with this particular chapter, that is creating the sample Python project along with the Jupyter notebooks. So I try to create one separate videos for that particular Jupyter notebook, how you can install the Jupyter notebook, and how you can run the sample program in that particular Jupyter notebooks. So for this particular tutorials we are just almost end with our topics. So hope you enjoyed this particular videos, and I try to cover almost all videos related to Python for data science in this particular playlist. So keep subscribe the channels, and you get the latest update from the different videos as well. And don't forget to press on that particular bell icon to get the notify when I upload any new particular videos in my channel.